Ugh. Hello, hello, hello. I... Oh, wires, technology and wires, wires and technology. Let's see. Let's see. Hello, darling. Good to see you. I'm just starting now. Just getting all my bits and bobs sorted out in front of me. Is the sound okay? I always like to do a little sound check before I ramble on at you. So let me know if you can hear me okay. I think you should be able to. That should be good. I've had to close the windows. It's particularly quiet on the street outside of me this evening. So, welcome to our weekly live in the Creative Genius Coaching Group. I just want to begin by saying that, as some of you know, no worries. These are, as you know, they just live then in the group, so you can catch up now. Do say hello if you are joining me now live, and also, oh, thank you. I've been at work all day. I feel a bit like, I thought I'd just put some lipstick on, make myself look a bit human. Thank you, sweetheart. Yeah, and if you're watching this on the replay, say hello as well. Let me know your thoughts. But what I wanted to just say, and I do say this at the end of the lives, but I'm going to start by saying this. My intention is to speak with you and share tips and techniques and coaching tools that will support your creativity, your creative life. So do let me know. Let me know anytime there are things that you would really love me to speak on. All aspects of the creative process, the creative cycle, where you get stuck, limiting beliefs, visibility, social media impact, making money with your art, branding, anything to do with your creativity and your creative life. This is what I'm all about. This is my work, and this is the aim for these lives each week. I'll always have themes that I want to bring, stuff that's going on in my life I want to share with you that will be helpful. But it's be great to begin to answer your questions, to work with you on things that are relevant to where you are in your creative process, whatever it is that you're working on. Great. You know, and it's funny because actually, even as I say that, you might watch these a lot. I know people end up watching these a lot after the live goes out. And so that might be around voice. Like, how do you ask? How do you speak up? You know, you might be like, I'm really shy as a creative person. How do I have a voice in the world? So let me say, as one shy being to another, if that is you, you are so welcome. You can private message me. You can just put it on one of these lives. I'd really love you to do something about this, or talk about this, or share with us some tools, some techniques, some pointers around this. Or you can just also just add it as a post into the group, because other people might also be wanting the same kind of information and teaching as you do as well. So we're supporting each other. That is so much what this is about. So today I want to talk to you about supporting your creative life, what that means, what that looks like, and where things get in the way. This is the last bit, particularly, is something that I'd really love to go into some depth with you. So I'm really hoping today is going to be quite value-packed and informative for you. You get something out. Anytime along the way, if you're just arriving, you're just popping in, do say hello. If you have any questions or anything resonates for you, drop it in the comments and I will respond when I can. So, creative support. We do not exist in a vacuum. It's kind of like one of those things that you hear, isn't it? Or a bumper sticker. New affirmations. Interesting. There you go, there's one. I do not exist in a vacuum. It's a kind of paradox because a lot of what our creative process is about when we're doing our creative work, whatever it is, most often is a very solitary experience. If we're writing ourselves. We might be sat in a coffee shop, one of my favorite things to do, but we're in our own experience. Hello, sweetheart. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Lovely to have you here. Thank you for saying hello. Pull up a chair. You probably already sat down, I'm guessing, and just enjoy. So, painting in a studio. Again, you might share studio space with others, but as part of your process, you're working with that on your own, whether you're a script writer, a musician, a performer. You know, some of this is there is overlap, but essentially for a lot of us, the creative process, the very act of that, is quite a solitary experience. And yet, we're also impacted by everything around us. The environment that we're in, the people that maybe we live with, if it's family, a partner, parents, children, the community that we're in. And also, what do we do with the art that we are creating, whatever that might be? So is it something that we're just doing for ourselves because it feeds us, it makes us feel good? Or is it something that we are doing to then offer out to others? So there's a piece of visibility, maybe in a gallery show, maybe we're being published, maybe we're offering a performance. Maybe we're a chef, you know, and we're creating beautiful menu to feed others so they have that whole taste experience and everything that goes along with that. So there is those two aspects, and we're not just ourselves, me, myself, and I. Even if we live on our own as a hermit in the middle of nowhere, and if that's the case, I am very honoured that you're here in this group. You're in relationship with the environment around you. You'll be impacted by the weather, the colour of the skies, the time of the year, the seasons, the plants, the flowers around you, the humming of birds or insects, whatever you might be living in, the home that you're in, how it's decorated. Everything will have a resonance with us and will lean towards how that is supporting us, either in a way that is helping us to bloom in our creativity, or perhaps it is tarnishing that a little and getting in the way. So the first thing you might want to think about when you think about creative support is a very kind of base foundational level of where do you create? Whatever it is that you're creating, where are you doing that in the main? And the second part of that is it inspiring for you? So maybe you just sit at a desk. To write, like I say, I often go to coffee shops. I would choose a coffee shop that the music isn't too loud, but there's something playing. There's people around because I love listening to people's conversation, having that hum, but it's not too much. I like a lot of light because there's a coffee shop that I love their coffee, so good, but it's very dark in there. So I don't actually quite like going in there to write. It doesn't really support me. When I'm at home and I write at my desk, I like to have nice things around me. Sometimes I like candles. Sometimes I have some chocolate next to me. I have the lighting just so. Might have a really nice blanket around me, maybe a favourite cup of tea. So it's important to understand that your environment has a really big part in supporting you to be creative in whatever way that is. And even if you're not an artist per se, but you are interested in living more this creativity of who you are, that might be things like, the clothes that you're wearing, or you kind of got a little bit stuck in maybe just wearing like sweatpants and t-shirts. Nothing wrong with that, but maybe you got into that during lockdown. I know a friend of mine that this has happened, and she's never really got out of that. And she's been talking to me about it recently, of actually wanting to shift that because she's kind of got stuck. And she's a very creative being anyway, but we were just talking about that. Or maybe we want a new look. I'm kind of thinking about playing with new looks for autumn because it's just play. It's just shape shifting. That's a very powerful part of play. Maybe it's about kind of the foods that you're eating. Is that supporting you? If you're just eating crap all the time, probably don't feel so good. And then that's not really going to give us the right energy and make us feel good to go and then put into our creativity. What about the people you're living with as well? Do you have, and I'm talking now about, are they honouring and respectful of the space? Do you have your own space? You can close the door and go, right, this is my creative time. Are you able to say, okay, I'm taking half an hour here if that's all you have, or 15 minutes, or an hour? Time, you know, that is about how we support ourselves. How much time do we give to our creativity, even if that's just daydreaming? I had a nap this afternoon. Don't think anybody, no, there's no one here that's in anything to do with my workplace. I was just tired. Stayed up very late reading a bonkers book. I'm going to talk about that another time. I was tired today. So I had a very long siesta this afternoon on my couch. And where was I going with this? Yeah, just talking about like, what do we do with our time? So I enjoyed staying up late to read because that was feeding the creative well. And actually in this kind of nap, I was just in and out, I wasn't really asleep. I had lots of ideas that came up. Daydreaming is an important part of our creative process. That actually does support our creativity in a bigger way than we think. And if you're interested more about that creating that space to daydream, last week's live, I think, I mentioned and spoke a little bit about the sacred pause, the part of the creative cycle that many of us don't necessarily honour. So all of these things, environment, maybe what we wear, what we're putting in our body, are we getting enough rest? Do we give ourselves some time, even if it's 5 minutes every day, just to be in a creative space? These are the first elemental aspects of supporting a creative life. Yeah, our surroundings and mood, particularly when we're sensitive creatures, we feel it, we're infused with that, you know. One of the things that Julia Cameron talks about, I remember now, in The Artist's Way, of going on an artist date each week. And it's making time for things like, you know, going to an art gallery and being surrounded by beautiful art. Or for me, going to a bookshop, as long as I strap my hands behind my back or leave my purse at home. It inspires me, picking up books, hearing about stories, going sit in a new coffee shop and just listening, people watching, not picking up my phone to get lost in. These could be ways to support our creative well. So let me know some of the things that maybe I've touched upon and spoken of, any of those that you know you put in place, any of those that you think you might need to just kind of refine a little bit, tweak slightly to support you a little bit more. I'd be really curious to know about that. What I wanted to really speak to you about today around support, it's a huge topic, I call this the 3 C's. Comparison, competition, and celebration. Comparison, competition, and celebration. Let's start with the first C here, which is comparison. Now, I know when I've gone out of my own alignment because I get very, very jealous of others. Totally holding my hands up. I probably have owned my jealousy many times in these lives over the time I've been doing them. I get jealous of others, what they're doing, what they're putting out there, how they're doing, and so on and so on. And it hurts. Jealousy is like, nails down a blackboard at the heart, I always feel. It feels like, it's like a rawness. Makes me, a kind of fury rise up in me. Very strong. It's part of our personal power, actually. that gets thrown out when we land in jealousy. And none of these places are wrong. And in fact, we could make incredible creative response to jealousy through whatever kind of art medium we would like to use, because there is so much power in and a visceralness to jealousy. But what I understand about myself is that when that does happen, it's kind of like I've left myself and I'm standing almost outside myself, and I'm empty and almost deflated, and there's like no one home, and I'm just standing there almost like gawking at the world around me and everybody in it. And it's a real place of scarcity for me. This is my experience, and a real place of lack, because then I'm looking around and I'm seeing all the fullness of others and them just being and living and offering and all of this exquisiteness. And this is when the kind of green-eyed monster comes out in me. It's not something I'm proud of, but I'm being honest about it. I think it hits many of us. And I feel this sense of lack, this sense of like, oh, how dare they? What are they doing? Oh my God, they're doing amazing. Or, oh, I can't do that. Or oh, I was going to do that. I can't now. It's almost like I've emptied myself of any space in my insides, and I see whoever it is taking up space around me, and like some part of me goes, oh, well, there's not then enough. I'm not enough. They're better. They're amazing. They're shining. I'll be forgotten. Whoa, whoa, whoa. When I'm in this space, it presses all of these very familiar buttons. Comparison. But what it means to me when I notice that happen is, oh, I've left myself. I need to come home to myself. I need to come back into where I live, into the space of who I am. Because when I'm in the space of who I am, and I'm full, there's a fullness of self. I am here, getting on with my own life, excited by the things that are, turning me on, giving me pleasure, that I'm wanting to explore, engaged in that, responding to that. And I can look out around me, and it's like I'm in my own queendom, and I can see other queens and other kings and other, whatever out there as well. All of us taking our own space, and we can stretch even more. And isn't that fucking amazing? This power that we all have, power that I have. So I really see that. It's like I'm a balloon that's completely and utterly deflated when I go into comparison. And I'm like, oh, hold on a second. I've stepped out myself. Come back to me. Come back to what I am doing. Come back to who I am. Yeah. Okay. I'm just having a look what's going on here. Yeah, sure. So this is very interesting comparison. Isn't it weird? Because when I am full of myself, and I say that not in the kind of arrogant ego way, I'm just talking about simply sitting in the generosity of all that I am, of my own life. I am my own planet. I am my own solar system, as are you, and as is this person, as is that person. And we are all magnificent in who we are and what we bring. Yeah, absolutely. And we can know that on one level, that there is no comparison. Yet when things are going on for us, or we're feeling a bit small, or, when, like I say, we've kind of abandoned ourselves, we've not been feeding ourselves, we've not been honoring ourselves, we can go into that place. We can forget that. And it's very, very true. We forget our own gifts. What it is for me is a sense of presence. When I am home to myself, I am fully present. Present in my sensuality, present in the ground of who I am. It's a strong force. I can feel it now. It's that erotic force. Some of you know about this as you've worked with me. We've done stuff around Eros. There's a lot of stuff coming up with Eros. I'm going to be launching later this year, because it's where the juice is. The fullness of oneself. We're not bothered then. This is also when we're not so bothered by others' critique and judgments. It kind of is a little bit like water off a duck's back then, because of the fullness of my own self. It's only when we're lacking that we take everything so personally. It's a very, it's quite a complex space. And I think actually the more that we are willing to own the comparison part of us, the part of us that does get jealous, the part of us that doesn't think that we're as good as other people, until we really own that, I think it's difficult to move on, because it can lie in the shadows then. You know, how many of us, again, at times have felt superior to others. Oh, I'm better than that person. Oh, look at that. I have to be honest, sometimes I would go to some of the art studio openings in Manchester, and I'd come away going, I'm a fucking good artist. Bloody hell. It's almost like it gave me that little bit of a boost, you know? Or go to see something and come away going, I'm just going to hang up my paintbrushes. Or read a book, which happens a lot. I'm reading a lot recently, and I go, I don't even know why I'm fucking bothering to write. You know, we can go, can't we? I'm bigger than, I'm smaller than, they're superior, inferior, they're better, I'm better, blah, blah, blah. Comparison. Doesn't mean anything. Because in the day we can kind of slap it around a little bit, like having a bit of a fishwives standoff for a while. And then we just come back to, okay, here I am. What am I offering? Get back in my own lane. Do what I need to do, because this is me. And I think this also goes on a bigger level around how we offer our art out, what our creative process is. We can read as many books in the world. You can listen to all of my stuff. You come and work with me. But you will have your own way that feels right for you. Yes, we can get tips from others. Yes, we can be inspired by. Yes, we need to sometimes imitate. Gabrielle Roth, the founder of 5 Rhythms, which was my main practice, embodiment practice, somatic practice for over 20 years, talks about the kind of the development of our creativity, of ourself, and how imitation is a part of that. We all do that as kids. We will imitate others. When we're learning anything, we'll often be imitating the teacher. You know, they'll literally show us how to do something. We follow that particular instruction because we're learning. It's often said, you know, if you're writing, go and write in the style of this for a while. Go and paint in the style of that person for a while. Even the great masters would have learned in the styles of the people that went before them, because it's how we learn. And at some point, we'll have enough of the kind of understandings and the techniques to then be able to put out and create and form our own voice, our own expression. But that takes time. And even that keeps evolving and changing, and we lose it and we find it again. Continuous process. The other thing about this is doubt comes in to comparison. Doubt is, I think it was Elizabeth Gilbert, it might have been Sylvia Plath as well, probably many creative beings talk about how doubt is the #1 killer of creativity. It's the ultimate party pooper, if you like. That's rubbish. I don't know if I can do that. You're no good. You know, you start off with a buzzing, exciting idea. How many of you know this one? You start off with an amazing creative idea, dead excited about it. Oh my God, it's a genius. I'm such a genius. You start, you're kind of like, yeah. And then, you know, after a while, you like, this is shit. What the hell was I thinking? This is ridiculous. Doubt is a part of the creative process. And the more, again, that we know that when it arises, because guaranteed it will, what do we do with it? We can either believe the doubt, or we can kind of go, okay, I've been expecting you. I'm willing to have a listen to you for a moment. Go on. I'm not going to hear all the, you know, you're shit and this is rubbish and you can't do this and who do you think you are? Because that's actually not helpful feedback. Do you have anything constructive for me, doubt? And it might be that doubt might say, okay, well, hearing you, I'm not going to diss everything, but I'm just wondering whether that colour's right for this series that you're doing. Or, you know, should that character really be going on that particular journey. So doubt can be healthy. Doubt can be very useful. Just in a way of stepping back and just assessing and reassessing and just seeing if we are going in the right direction. Doubt is completely useless when it's telling us to tear up everything and throw almost like the baby out with the bathwater, which is a very, very odd phrase indeed, as many of these phrases are that we hear. Doubt, not enough. This is the comparison one, massive one. Who has this thing or has known this part of I'm not enough, this is not enough, I'm not good enough? This is a huge one, isn't it? Thank you, Clarity. Stopping you before you even start. I'm curious. I'd love to know how that stops you before you start. Is it the case of, I don't know if I can do this, I'm not going to be good enough, who do I think I am? I'd be really curious to know what form that doubt takes. If you want to respond, that would be wonderful. You can invite it in. This is what I want to do, work with you with these lives a little bit more, if I can. So yeah, not enough, not good enough, the not enough one. Fuck. You know, we've had that one, and then the one that we don't often touch upon is the too much. I'm too amazing. Oh my God, I'm going to blind everybody with my brilliance. We don't go there, do we? We're more like everyone's going to laugh at us because I'm shit, this is rubbish. So subjective, art, creativity. And we have to learn to trust. This is the antidote to doubt, the trusting that impulse, trusting the playing with. Trusting also, and this is a phrase, is a bumper sticker, that if we don't make mistakes, we end up not making anything. Because a lot of things that many creatives end up making or putting out there often do come from things that haven't worked, things that have failed. I think we need another word for this. That didn't lead in the right direction. Oh, okay. Well, let's try this then. Okay, there's something to this. But doubt will stop us from even trying. Why? Because we're going to get it wrong. We're going to look stupid. We're going to fail. As I often say, remember, you probably don't remember, learning to tie your shoelaces. Do you remember learning to walk? Did you fall over once? Did you fuck up once with your shoelaces and then that was it? Or did you allow yourself, or do the adults around you allow you to be clumsy? I say bring back owning the being clumsy as we learn. What if we allowed ourselves to say, I am learning how. I am learning how to love with my partner, with my beloved. We say this to each other because neither of us really know. Yeah, sure, we both had relationships, blah, blah, blah. Learning how to love. I'm learning how to live a creative life. I'm learning how to run a business with all the stuff that comes with it. The doubts, they're going, can't be bothered, they're wanting to run away, they're blah, 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 blah. Learning how. Isn't that kinder than the doubting, the not enough? Oh, interesting. Love to know more about that, Clarity. So maybe, you can send me a message around it. I'd love to kind of go into that a little bit more with you, sweetheart. Interesting, isn't it? Yeah, not with all your creating, but just with your sewing. So just a little question with you. You don't have to answer this right now. This is for your Clarity. Is there an association with sewing? Does it have a meaning for you that's different to other aspects of creating? Might be something that's holding some memory or some expectation kind of around what that might be. So it's I mean, this is the other thing. The nervous system comes in and responds. That's a whole other aspect of this. Actually, talking of how do we support ourselves, the biggest thing, and this is something I am been learning last few years, continuing to learn, we need to support our nervous system. That needs to be foundational as artists, as sensitive creatures. We have to have a solid sense of ground. We have to have a sense of being rooted and anchored. Otherwise, you know, we can burn out easily, we can get overwhelmed. If we are putting ourselves out there and being visible, exposing ourselves through our art, which is one of the bravest things we can do as artists, we need to be able to have a strong enough, solid sense of self and a sense of safety within ourselves that we don't kind of burn out, crack up, break down, and so on. So nervous system is a massive part of supporting, and there's lots and lots of information around this. I also work with the nervous system with clients and in my programs as the first thing we do, because it's just a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. So we've touched upon comparison. There's also kind of the sister one to that. They're a bit like stepsisters, you know, the kind of Cinderella's stepsisters. So we've got competition, the similar thing, isn't it? Comparison, competition. Unfortunately, this is quite a huge sister wound, woman's wound. I'm not sure if it's the same thing with men. But for a lot of women, there is this suspicion that has been born from a long time of separating us from each other. You know how it is when women get together. You know how powerful we are as women together. We even know how we train how our bleeding, you know. We can live with some women or be on a holiday and we can all end up bleeding at the same time. We entrain together. That's how powerful we are as women. The strength of us. No wonder the powers that be X amount of time ago began to make us turn against each other. You know, sticks on their own break easily. Sticks in a bundle are strong. So competition. It's really good to notice. Have I got this sense of competition? Is it just me? Am I suspicious? So I look out at others, maybe not just women, but other creatives. A bit like, what are they doing? I see, okay. Kind of, you know, it sinks in with the comparison aspect. Being in competition as opposed to collaboration. Oh, even as I say that, I get goosebumps. Collaboration. Creating together what we can build together. Co-creating. Community. As opposed to competition, as opposed to that being in suspicion towards each other, walking besides each other, creating things that we didn't even know was possible when we maybe work with somebody else. I'm working with lovely Nicola, who is part of this group, which is delightful. You're one of the first few people that joined this group, and we're creating a vaudeville cabaret act. Very clowny, and we're actually going to be performing our virgin performance. Don't know why, I got this American thing. Our virgin performance at a mutual friend's wedding in a couple of weeks, which is completely bonkers in my head, and it makes me slightly whew as I share this news. And this delights me. Let's play together rather than being competition. Play together. And it's again an invitation for you here, my darlings. If there is something you want to create together, put it out on the group. Put a call out. Anyone else be interested in this collaboration? Put it out there. I really, really encourage you to do so. It's something I so want. It just brings so much joy and wonder. And we've had the biggest laugh doing this. And what we've come up with is just, we couldn't do that on our own. And I'm learning so much from her. And she's learning so much from me. And that is, you know, I bow to that. Because that's another thing about the comparison and competition. Maybe looking out at others or being a bit like, what are they up to? Maybe there's some part of looking in and going, well, I might need to learn more. Do I need to upskill in some level? If I'm looking at that and being jealous of or comparing, maybe I need to kind of learn that skill or something similar. Or maybe it's because there's something I really want to go and do and put my time and attention to, and I've not been willing to let myself do that. Often when we're looking out in that way, it's because there's something that we think we don't have. So have a look at that and go, what is it that's making me feel this way? Oh, It's because they're just letting themselves be very free. Right. Where do I need to look at that in me? Oh, it's because they're working with these kind of people. Ah, so I want to work with others. Okay. And so on and so on. These places can be real gifts if we allow ourselves to use this as medicine. What do I feel that I'm lacking that this other person or people have? Where do I need to turn to that in myself? Where do I need to get support from? This is the support again, a teacher, a course, a new training, a mentor, a coach, and so on. So I'm just having a look here as well. There's also this thing about permission. Interestingly, this comes with the supporting. An interesting question to ask yourself, especially if you're feeling a bit like, you know, that kind of snaky kind of at others. Are you waiting for permission? And if so, whose permission are you waiting for before you absolutely let go into your creative expression? It's really interesting if you're, especially if you're noticing you're quite tight or contracted and you do look out a lot with comparison and competition. Just notice, ask yourself, am I waiting for someone's permission to be this person, to act like this, to show this side of me? I've spoken before about my ongoing journey to allow myself to show a little bit more, you know, a kind of kinkier side, a little bit more depravity, actually. I'm going to go with that word. I've just spent the last 2 weeks reading 3 books by women authors that are, I suppose you call them quite gothic, quite grotesque in some way, very subversive, quite feminist, very dark, fairy tale-esque. Love it. But it's really made me feel quite cheeky today, as in, oh, how far can I push my writing? Thank you, amazing women authors. Let me see if I can be a little bit inspired. Oh, it's okay to do that. You know, I'm still a work in progress as well. I always say this. So whose permission are you waiting for? Just check that. And if it's permission for some aspect, again, turn towards yourself and go, what is it I'm afraid of? About why I'm waiting for someone else to give me this permission. Whose authority, being the author of your own life, am I waiting for? Because no one else is going to give you this, you know. No one else is going to, no one cares. Let's be honest. Everyone else is stuck in their own bloody thoughts with their own bloody things going on. We all know this. We get terribly self-conscious, don't we? So how is all this landing? Let me know how all this is landing. Any thoughts come up for you? Anything that resonates for you at all? I'd really love to know. As I say, this is a really huge topic when we look at creative support and what that means. So the last C, so we've looked at comparison and on competition, is celebration. This is what we don't necessarily do if we're busy looking out at others or thinking, am I doing this right or am I good enough? Firstly, do we celebrate ourselves? Do you celebrate yourself? Do you celebrate your creativity? Do you celebrate the expression of who you are? Do you celebrate the 5 minutes of writing or the way that you arrange those flowers? Do you celebrate the movement of your hips as you walk? Do you celebrate the steps that you take? Do you celebrate the ideas and daydreams that come to you? Do you celebrate? A lot of us do not celebrate. In fact, we have a very strange relationship, I think, to celebrating in this society. You celebrate yourself. It's important. We spend enough time criticizing ourselves, don't we? If we only took like 10% of that and turned that into celebration, that would make a massive, massive difference. Celebrating yourself. Look at me. This is great. I'm doing really well with this. This is amazing. So what? So I've just scribbled all over a page. Good for me. So fucking what? I've scribbled all over a page. Go me. I've written 1 sentence today. Fucking amazing. One sentence. Great. I'm going to celebrate that. Whatever it is that you are doing, we don't do that. Instead, we will look for where we'll look for the negativity rather than the positivity, the things we can appreciate, because what we appreciate appreciates. I know that's like one of those fucking bumper stickers, but it is really true. Gratitude, appreciation expands us, it swells us. It swells that part of us, celebrating your creativity. Even if your head's raging, going, what are you talking about? You're not an artist, you're not a writer, you can't do this, who do you think you are? Let that just go on behind the scenes. You celebrate that part of you. You've got to believe it. If you don't believe you are a creative being, that you living a creative life, that you're learning how is anyone else going to? You have to be on your own side to begin with. So you have to support yourself, but also look at who are the people that are supporting your creative life. Do you have that around you? Do you have one person, a few people? Do you have a group? Is it your partners, your family, is it your best friend that are on your side, that are walking beside you as you create? That don't think what you're talking about is a stupid idea. That are like, yeah, go for it when you go, I don't know, I feel like I'm going to try that. And I'm not talking necessarily about somebody that's like, yeah at everything you do. The constructive stuff is really, really helpful. I love the writing group I used to belong to. I still do. It's just like work now on the day they meet. I love the constructive feedback. It helped me grow so much and learn, but it was done with love. And also with having support, even having somebody that you really trust, that you can go to and say, do you know what? I want to share this with you. And today, all I want from you is what's good about this. And we can ask for that. Or another time you might go, I'm going to share this with you. And with love, I'd love to know what your thoughts are. And maybe I could improve this. What do you think? So we can ask for the kind of support that we want. It's quite radical, isn't it? We can ask for the kind of support that we want. And it's also being very mindful that we don't want to be asking for support from people around us that we know are not getting us, or maybe are very too critical. And that might be painful if that's maybe your partner or a good friend. They might just not get it in you, but somebody else might. Hence why things like writers' groups are great. You know, or going to sewing groups or book clubs or whatever it might be. You know, joining art classes and so on, finding mentors or coaches, because those people are on your side. And they are available, they are everywhere. You need one person really. So finding the right person to support is absolutely vital. It can make the most massive difference. It just again provides a ground of safety, a checking point. And it's also then about celebrating each other as well, celebrating yourself, celebrating others. It's an antidote to the comparison, the jealousy. Celebrating others. How can we do that? Maybe it's liking their posts, maybe it's commenting, maybe it's buying from them, maybe it's shouting about them places, or, you know, you speak to someone and go, oh my goodness, my friend does stuff like this, I'll give you her contact details and so on. Sharing the love, sharing the joy, that there's enough space for all of us. That's supporting each other as well. So one last thing I want to share is about a bigger sense of everything that is about support. And that is really knowing, because all this stuff, it's all this kind of small mind stuff is always going to be going on and on and on. It really is. We just have to get used to it. Know its flavours when it comes in, recognise it and go, oh, it's you, you know. It's the knowing why we're doing what we're doing. This is the biggest support. What is the bigger vision that holds everything? Why are you writing a book? Why are you creating a dance piece, a performance? Why are you wanting to step into a more juicy creative life? It's expanding into the bigger vision, the bigger picture, the bigger why. Because it's very easy, and I do this a lot, we forget that and zoom right into small details. Well, that's not working. Well, blah, 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 blah. And get really frustrated and go, well, fuck it all. And forgetting, oh, whoa, hold on a second. Expand out again. There's a bigger reason that's holding all of this. And that in the space, along with all the thoughts and all the petty this, that, and the other, there's a space of magic, almost like it's filled with this kind of cosmic starscape of magic and possibilities and coincidences and synchronicities and things like you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened, or met that person, or this opportunity arose. It's in the bigger space, the bigger vision that we're holding. And this is the ultimate support, I think. Because we might not have all the other stuff, a good environment, anybody around us, but if we have this sense of what the bigger vision is, the bigger picture, that is profound. Really profound. So I would love, love, love to know any thoughts that you have from the things that I've shared. All the lives that I do in this group, they stay in this group, so you can go back to them, you can listen again, you can make notes, you can respond. I'd love to know your thoughts and comments on the lives. Let me know what that was like to listen to, what stayed with you, any questions that came up. It's a real joy for me. This is what I want to be doing, is offering for you weekly as much as I can. If you know other people that would really appreciate all this content and it kind of would resonate for them, invite them into the group. All creative souls are welcome. So I do just want to finish by sharing one more thing with you. And this is that I do a variety of one-to-one coaching. And it's truly magnificent. I am just blown away by how the creative life coaching works for people. And my prices are going up in a couple of weeks, in September. They haven't gone up for a long time. And it's time. Quite radically. The packages are changing. So I'm going to put a link, 2 links actually, into the comment thread. One is a link to the coaching packages I have available right now, as the price that they are right now. And the other link is my calendar, the Calendly. If you're curious and interested and you think, this might be helpful heading into the autumn, into that back to school September, maybe it's time to invest in myself and explore these places where maybe I'll get stuck, or I'm afraid, or just have this potential and need someone to walk beside me. So I will add the Calendly link as well. So it will be, I think in 3 weeks, everything is completely radically changing at my website. A lot of amazing stuff coming. So if you want to work with me, you've been thinking about it, this is a great time to go for it, as these prices are going to change. And again, share this with anyone you think might be interested. I've really enjoyed speaking with you this evening. And thank you for the words. Keep them coming in response. Let me know. And I hope there was things that were useful for you there, that made you think. And I hope you have a really beautiful rest of your evening as well. Take care, my darlings. Until next week.